It all started in early 2025. At the time, I was still working, and honestly, I was looking forward to graduating from college so I could move into a more administrative role at the job that I loved dearly. I was hoping it would get me away from the more physical part of my job because I was already dealing with a lot of pain. Now, I had dealt with hip pain before and even used a walker and a cane, and I was even scheduled for a total hip replacement at one point. But I'll leave that story for a different video. I also had or knew that I had some lower back issues, but this felt completely different. By March, I was experiencing shooting pain down my leg, and the top of my right foot was numb, and I was having trouble lifting my right leg high enough to get in and out of the car. My muscles felt extremely tight, and I started seeing a massage therapist to try to get some relief. I even bought a massage chair. My primary doctor initially thought the symptoms were coming from my back and diagnosed me with sciatica. When I saw her again in March, she referred me to a pain specialist in neuroscience. I was prescribed Lyrica for the nerve pain, as well as Celebrex, which helped some. In April, I was referred to physical therapy, and I had an MRI. I also received an injection into my lumbar region, and that injection helped quite a bit, but unfortunately, the relief didn't last. As time went on, the pain that had started in my right leg began affecting my left leg as well. It had become bilateral. For a while, I continued trying to work and function through it. Then by October of 2025, everything became much worse. I had to make one of the hardest decisions of my life. I had to quit my job, the one I truly loved, because I simply couldn't perform my duties anymore. That was really heartbreaking. The tightness in my legs intensified, and walking became so difficult. Now, I could wake up feeling fine, take a few steps, and by step 5, I was ready to quit for the day. Every step after that seemed to make the pain worse, much worse. It eventually progressed to the point where I couldn't walk up the stairs without severe pain. I would stay on one floor for as long as I possibly could, just so I wouldn't have to face the stairs again. I held going to the bathroom as long as I could. And that's when the Aging and Disability Center came to my rescue. They helped me with a stair lift, and that stair lift was wonderful. It allowed me to continue getting around my own home when using the stairs had become nearly impossible. Around that same time, I also had an episode of involuntary urination and began experiencing a buzzing sensation in my face. When I saw my primary doctor, she ordered extensive blood work and an urgent MRI. I was also referred to a neurosurgeon. However, after reviewing my early MRI, he told me there really wasn't a surgical option for what he was seeing. By that time, my muscles and my nervous system were so messed up. I had to increase the Lyrica because the nerve pain had in my legs gotten so worse. I also was taking Celebrex and Tylenol daily. The nerve pain wasn't just an ache. It felt like fire running through my legs. Sometimes it burned so intensely, I didn't know what to do with myself. One of the only things that brought any relief was heat. I found myself climbing into the hot tub a lot just to calm my nerves down for a while. I bought a heating pad and wrapped it around my legs, and I bought leg warmers going all the way up to my thigh because warmth was one of the few things that made the pain bearable. I tried so many things, but I had another MRI this time with contrast, and this is where the story gets interesting. That MRI showed inflammation around the conus medullaris, which is the very end of the spinal cord. While I was waiting for that MRI, though, I was trying to understand what was happening to me. I started digging through everything, my medical history, my test results, and years of blood work. Slowly, over the last few years, my B12 levels had been falling and ended up at the very low end of normal. So I brought it up to my doctor. And she agreed, even though my numbers were technically normal, some of what I was experiencing could very well be from B12 deficiency. I started taking mega doses of B12, 4,000 micrograms to be exact, even though my doctor had only ordered 1,000. I just figured B12 is one of those vitamins where if your body doesn't need it, you just pee out the excess. So I figured I'm gonna make sure I have enough. I also got a 1,000 microgram B12 shot. Within the next couple weeks, something shifted. My legs didn't tighten up as badly when I walked. I mean, it was still hard, but I didn't dread going to the bathroom anymore. By the time a month went by, I was walking again, not just to the bathroom, but a little bit here and there in the grocery store. I still got fatigued pretty quickly. I mean, this had been going on for months, and from not moving much, my muscles had gotten weak. They just didn't want to hold me steady for long. But I kept going, I was pushing through, and as the weeks went by, my muscles started getting stronger again. Recovery isn't a straight line. Some days are better than others. There were times I think I had turned a corner only to have a rough day that made me question everything. But when I look back a month or two instead of a day or two, I realize I really am getting better. Still healing. One thing that was still concerning to my doctors at the time was the inflammation of the conus. But at the same time, I was seeing improvement in my movements and in my everyday life. And so I personally wasn't too worried, even though the doctor visits continued. By February, I had started working again as a substitute teacher, and I could feel myself getting better and better. That's when I realized my hip had gotten worse again, but like I mentioned earlier, that's a story for another video. As for everything else, I just keep healing. Today, as I'm recording this, I'm still taking Lyrica, still taking Celebrex, not because I'm getting worse, but because nerves heal incredibly slow. Every month I notice a little more improvement. There are days now when I completely forget to take the Lyrica or the Celebrex. I went down on the Celebrex, and that alone tells me how far I've come. Now, Lyrica doesn't make the nerve damage disappear, but it makes it possible to get through the day while my nerves slowly heal, and the Celebrex is for my hip. I still wear my leg warmer on my right leg from time to time, but the nerve pain is bearable now, and it's only on the right side. When I think back to where I was, barely able to walk across the room, dreading every trip to the bathroom, wondering what was happening to my body, it's honestly hard to believe how far I've come. I'm not completely healed, but I'm living my life again. And for a while, I truly wasn't sure I'd ever be able to say that. If there's one thing I hope people take away from this story, is this: don't be afraid to ask questions. Look through your own medical records and advocate for yourself. B12 deficiency wasn't the only thing my doctors were investigating. It's not the only thing that's wrong with me. And it may not be the answer for everyone, but in my case, taking a closer look at those normal lab results, ended up making a huge difference. If you're interested in the rest of this journey, including my neuropsychosis scare and why my doctors thought that might be the cause, I made a video about that as well. You can watch it right here.